Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video giving my thoughts on what I think we're going to see for the future of the Walking Dead comic book series, and thus, eventually, the Walking Dead television series. I guess, story predictions. Okay, so for this one I got to give a certain kind of spoiler warning, and that is if you're not read up to date on the Walking Dead comic book series and you don't know what, or you don't want to know what happens with that, or you don't want to know about the future of the show, I guess, because eventually it's going to line up with the comic book series. Spoilers for anyone who doesn't want to know. So basically what we're going to be talking about in this video is the long-term future of the story of The Walking Dead. We've basically been through 127 issues of the comic book series thus far, and you know, of course, they're just going to keep right on going. We know that Kirkman plans on working on The Walking Dead for a very long time and have it go on for at least a couple hundred issues, maybe more, even to the point where he may have to hand over the reins to someone else and have someone else take over and you know, write it after him, after he's completed his work and is retired or whatever, or decides that he doesn't want to basically do it anymore. Spoilers for issue 127 and, you know, pretty much everything up until then, if anyone's worried. So basically, in issue 127, we get to see that there is a huge time skip in the series. So we have a couple years in addition to where we've been at in The Walking Dead Zombie Apocalypse. So we're at least, I want to say, a good solid 5-6 years into a zombie apocalypse, or at least we will be in terms of the TV series time once it gets to that point. We're going to have that time skip, so that'll put us at about 5 or 6 years after the zombie apocalypse. And you have Rick's group, which when you combine all the different parts of the overarching group of the different communities, you have essentially a huge amount of people, which is probably around 100 people. So we've seen the progression from the beginning of the survival horror type series all the way up through until right now, where we have, you know, a huge community, and Rick has given literally everything he has pretty much to build it and to get to that point where humanity has a chance against the dead again. Now, brings into some really interesting questions. We've had 2 years of relative peace for the most part, as far as we know. Rick and Andrea have gotten married, which is really cool. Carl has grown up. He's like you know, at least he's drawn like some kind of like punk, like teenager, you know, punk rock teenager type character. Negan is essentially imprisoned, incarcerated for what he's done, and getting to see that Rick was right all along, and that this is the way to rebuild society. So very cool. Where do I think Kirkman's going to go from here? Where do I think the story is going to go from here and progress? Well, I think right off the bat, it's not too hard to see that we're going to see a lot more separation from Rick in terms of concentration on the story. Rick, up until now, has been the front-runner character for the Walking Dead series, and I think he'll always kind of be there, at least for a while, for another 100, maybe 200 issues. Rick will still be in the series. He'll still be the leader of the community, but it'll be sort of in the way that Douglas was originally the leader of Alexandria, where he's kind of taken a back seat. You know, he's the leader of the community, and he oversees all the important things. He goes to meetings, and he does all of that with the different people in the community, but he's not a foot soldier right there that's going to be going out and fighting against zombies and doing stuff like that. That's not what he's going to be doing. So for the story, I think we're going to see a big time shift where the focus is not always going to be on him, and it's going to start to be on other characters, like the new female character with her small group that was brought in to the community recently, Magna, and others like her, I would assume. The story is going to focus more on, because in terms of Rick's community, you would have to see a huge group to even, you know, challenge Rick's group and where they're at right now. I mean, who out there in, you know, in the Walking Dead world, what groups of people would really be able to challenge him? It would only be someone like Negan that has a huge group of straight up fighters that are desperate and don't have much and have somehow survived their way all this time until now, that would really pose a threat to Rick. And we just recently kind of saw something like that. So I think it's going to be at least a little while until we see some kind of threat like that again in the Walking Dead series. At least I would say probably a couple chapters, at least a few story arcs up until, until we see something like that. And then maybe in another 30, 40, 50 issues, which would be a couple seasons, we'll see some kind of group that will challenge Rick's group and try to take what they have out of desperation because they don't have anything, and Rick's group is so well established and so well built. I'm sure there's some out there like that we're going to see. Plus, because we're going to see the concentration on other groups, like smaller groups of characters and new characters, we'll probably see them have to go out and complete different tasks and stuff like that, and have the focus be more on them because Rick is relatively safe in the community where you don't have to really worry about walkers because Eugene's got that figured out. You don't really have to worry about groups attacking because you have so many people. So I think that's for the most part what we're going to see. So it's going to feel, I think, I don't think it's going to feel as much like a survivor horror as it has up until now for Rick. For the others that go out on their own, for them, yes. But for Rick, no, because he's not going to be putting his life in jeopardy all that much. He's too important, as a leader of the whole communities, few different communities. So I think that's mainly where it's going to go. Now, I could see them doing something with Dwight because he is the leader of the Saviors now, after Negan, of course. So what are they going to do with the Saviors themselves, and could they possibly turn on the other groups? It makes sense. It's very possible you could see someone like him trying to take over the other groups for some reason, either not getting enough food, some kind of dispute, something like that. So sort of inner turmoil with regards to the expansion also of the community. Also, as Rick's allowing other people into the group, I would think there's a potential for inner turmoil with them and for them to cause trouble within the group. So I think we're going to see a lot more of like internal struggles like that in the future of the Walking Dead comic book series and TV series, and not so many outside extrinsic pressures like zombie herds or like Negan type groups, at least for a little while, until maybe eventually within 50 chapters to 100 chapters we'll see another community the size of Rick's community that's desperate and wants to take what they have or something like that. And then we'll see, how they called it all-out war before. This, to me, would be more like a war where you have hundreds of people on both sides fighting at conflict. So, at least for the short term, I think we're not going to see much with Rick in terms of putting his life in danger. We're going to see more of a different type of story for him, and he's going to take more of a back seat where we see some of these new characters put their lives in jeopardy to keep the community safe and do different tasks until we see that inner turmoil and eventually some kind of extrinsic threat that would be sort of like Negan, to come in and challenge Rick and challenge the others, if it's not Dwight. So those are kind of my predictions on what I think we're going to see with the series in the long term. I think it's going to be cool to see because basically what we're witnessing is that a story of a zombie apocalypse where the leader of the group of survivors we follow is so great that he has a vision and he's able to accomplish his vision and rebuild society to the point where you have a huge amount of people, and then once you get to that stage, where do you go from there? Because zombies aren't much of a threat anymore, so it would have to be other things, inner turmoil, or maybe another group that's humongous that could really challenge them. So I think that's what we'll see eventually. What will a leader be like for them? I mean, who knows? It's tough to see what Kirkman's going to come up with. But anyway, I really enjoyed the story, and that's kind of what I think is going to happen in the future, that we're not going to see that much of Rick out there anymore. He's going to be taking a back seat, and we're going to see some other characters heavily focused like this new female. Let me know what you guys think about that and what you think we're going to see happen. Do you think Dwight is going to stir some things up? Do you think we're going to see another huger group before then? Let's do some sort of long-term story predictions for The Walking Dead and what you think we're going to see comic book series soon and eventually the TV series when it catches up to that point. So that's pretty much all I got to say for this one in terms of long-term story predictions and what I think we're going to see in the future of The Walking Dead comic book series and thus TV series. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please like it below. If you want to help support the channel, favorite it, share it, and yeah, I'll call it here. So for this video, guys, see you for the next one. Video suggestions, send them to me. Trev, saying peace.